Hello everyone, and welcome back to Satisfactory. So, last time we were here, we were working on our nuclear pasta production line, and we had made all of our iron ingot smelting. Or copper ingot smelting, rather, obviously. We need a lot of this stuff for the copper powder, for the end product. So, that's a pretty good start. Next step is, I guess, to just make the copper, the copper powder. So we need 20 constructors, which each make like a lot, and then we'll have 1,000 copper powder total. So, let's see here. Copper powder. Each constructor turns 300 into 50. And here we have batches of 750. So if we just divide each of these into, 2.5 constructors? So we just take, the easiest way would just be to have each of these go into 3 constructors, which are all slightly underclocked. So let's just do that then. So let's fill in this space. This should be pretty simple and quick. So we just fill in the space, and then we get a splitter and 3 constructors. So we do constructor, constructor, constructor. Alright, so these make copper powder, and we need each of these to make, what's the number that we need? 41? No, 41.5. Oh, is it going to be like 41.6 repeating? Yes, it is. There we go. So that gets us 250 copper ingots into each of these, which we can do with Mark III belts. And then this can just go around and in like that. So we get left any, center overflow, and then those go out to there, and we get power. Well, first let's get sinks set up. So the total amount of copper powder that we have in this entire system is going to add up to just over a single belt, Mark V. So it's going to be like 2-ish of those. So for each of these individual rows, which I'd imagine are just going to get their own sinks, here, there, and then those last 2, then these can all be Mark IVs probably. If this is 41.667 times 3 is 125, so this is 250. Oh wait, no, there are 3 in a row. So it's 125 times 3 is 375 among those 3. 375 among those 3, less than that among those 3. And then that last one over there is going to do its own thing. So these need to be Mark IV belts, basically. So let's get all of this stuff over there and pop in the sink. Alright, so that is set up, and then we just have to connect those belts across, and then we bring this power line over to that one. And now we just have to get the constructors themselves. So just like that. And this is one setup. Just have to do 2 more here, 3 more there, and then slightly different ones over on the last row. So let's continue filling in this space and work on the next row. Alright, so that space all gets stretched out to there. And then we just have more constructors, which ideally would be in the same row as this one. So then we go there, there, and there. And then one more row. So this one, scooch it over a little bit. There, there, and then we just get all that out and there. Alright, so those are the constructors in. Now we get the splitters, which go there and there. The belts go in like so. And those are all set up. Alright, now let's get power going to all of these. So let's just get all of these hooked up on the same power line for convenience. And that is that. And then those all get hooked up. Then we just bring this belt around and into there. And we bring this belt around and into there. And then we just have to get the settings, so we can go over here, copy paste you into there, paste you into there. Alright, now those are running, and we can just put in our mergers real quick. There we go. Get the rest of these mergers on this line. Like that. And then we just connect across and then connect the whole thing up. So now these go into the main line and we have this whole row all syncing properly, except for this weirdo guy back here who is doing almost 300. It's hard to tell how much it actually is, but who knows. 37.5 times 4, so that's 150. And this is, I believe this is meant to be underclocked some. I'm pretty sure that that's the case. Alright, let's figure that out then. How much is that meant to be underclocked by? Because we definitely do not have an even number of refineries here. So we have 6,000 divided by 150 is 40. And then we have the additional what, 40.163 copper for the other production line. So, if I remember correctly, these are like 13, so that's 39 and that's 40, and then this is the additional production line one. So actually, do I want to just have you not connect up. Yeah, I think that's how that's going to work. So you don't need to connect up. And instead, we need the 4 of you to make 40.163 divided by 4, which is going to be extreme overkill. We do not need 4 refineries for this, but it's fine. Alright, so those are now set. And we can bring their copper out individually. We still want it to go up to the next floor because that's where we're going to be doing the rest of this stuff anyways. But you go up here and get connected down to there. Alright. So that will save me a fair amount of trouble on the complicated balancing side of things. So we don't have to figure out how to get all those numbers to work out. Now they should just work. And this should have dropped down to 150, which it looks like it has. Cool. Alright, so we need to get that 150 smelted up, which I believe should just be like one of these, just one constructor, and then we pop that into there, and we just get our belt. Does that clip anything? It does not. Very good. And we connect that up to the power line. And we give you copper powder. So this is then set at 50% to deal with the 150. And center overflow right any. There we go. Now we just combine this up with the rest of them, and I don't think this is going to hit the max belt speed problems, because that's only an additional 25, and I think we're good 100-ish below max already. Alright, so now let's go over here and get a smart splitter, because those need to exist. And we can put in a throughput monitor right there. There we go. And that is doing its thing. So now we can move on to... I guess we should get this stuff sunk, because it's its own independent thing now. It's not connected up to the other sinks that exist. So you can just go over this way where you won't be in the way of anything. At least not for now. And we get a smart splitter and a sink. And then that just goes across and gets powered up. The wire is too long, so let's have it stop midway. And then go into there. Alright, so that's all set up. Row 1 finished. We just need to do this one more time and then something very similar another time after that. So these ones are facing in this way, which is actually great. That's way more convenient. So let's get this whole foundation in where we can put the sinks. So that all goes in like that, and then this goes up like that, and then might as well get another row into here while we're at it. Alright, so now this needs to be a bit wider, I think. just a little bit wider probably, just like 2 foundations maybe. Alright, now let's get some constructors and get them lined up to a reasonable degree. Give you a little bit more space for the belts. And now we can get you set up. So copper powder, and what were you? This was 750 inputs divided by 3 is 250 inputs, and it was like, no, it wasn't that. It was this, right? Yes, there we go. So we have those. Now we can copy paste that a couple of times, put the splitter in, and get it all set up. So then this goes around and in. Alright, let's continue getting this set up for the other 2 rows. So that goes there, and then over to that one, so that they're all lined up. That's your batch of 3 constructors, and then we go over to this one and get you all lined up as well. And there we go. Now we put in the splitters. There and there. Then we put in the belts. There, there, and there. Alright, so last step, well, technically second to last step, last big step anyways, is the mergers, which just go along like this and collect up all the copper powder. So off we go. And one more batch of 3. Now we connect all of these up to our merger line, and then we can connect the merger line through, and that will be that. The only thing left to do will be to get the belts connected up. Alright, so this is going. We're almost at the point where we won't have to worry about copper powder and these massive production numbers again. Alright. So that is that. Let's get the sink in. We're going to need that. Get some space. And the sink. Wait, we need a smart splitter in between, of course. That's important. And we just go like that. Alright, next step is get everything powered. So let's do that real quick. We won't be able to get everything powered on just this one power line, because there's 9 machines and a sink, which equals 10, and then we need to hook this up to something, which is 11. So let's just get out to like that, then connect you back into power, and then across to these last 2 machines. Alright, so now those machines are all set up. Now we can just bring the belts in and set the splitters. So you get pasted, and off you go, and off you go. There we go. That is row 2 of copper powder done. And they're starting to go. It takes so much copper in order to do this. Just an absolutely insane amount. But it is what it is. You gotta use all the copper somehow. Alright, so now we have just one more row back here. And then we will be done with this whole process. I probably should have blueprinted this, but it's too late now. I could have saved a lot of time by just making a blueprint of this whole setup. Alright, so that goes a little bit forwards. This is going to need to be just a touch wider. And this is probably just about good enough. We're going to need more on this side. So let's get that in. Alright, something like that. And then let's grab one of these constructors to copy paste. So there you go. So now we just drag this on over here and plop it down. So you go in this general area, get you lined up nice and centered on the sink. And then we go 1, 2, 3. Wait, these ones are a different speed, aren't they? Yeah, I think they are. Alright, we're going to have to check that. It should be slower, so having 3 of the constructors should still work just fine. We're just going to have to figure out what speed they're meant to be at. And then set them accordingly. Alright, so that then lines up like so. And it's hard to tell. Is that lined up? That's lined up. Okay. So then this goes into there. And we get 3 of them. Alright. So how much is this? You're showing 450. I'm guessing 450 is going to be the number. So you are 1, 2, 3 batches. So yes, the number is 450. Could have done it with 2 each, but it's not like having extras machines is going to hurt anything. So we put in our splitters. And we just go across the process as usual. But you are input of 450 divided by 3 is 450 divided by 3 is 150. I could have done that in my head. So these are 50%. Alright, so that's easy enough. So now let's just paste those settings across. And there we go. So now we just take our belts and set them all up. There we go, and one more row. Alright. Now we take that belt and bring it around. Like so. And there. Alright, so next up we have the power poles, which we can just slap in like that. And get most of these guys. There we go. Then this goes over here. And it gets all those connected up. And finally connects into power. So now all these machines are active. So now the only step remaining is to get the sinks going. And let's get those in. One merger at a time. You want these machines to have a place to output stuff before they start going, otherwise they could back up a little bit, which would be mildly annoying. Alright, so then all these conveyor belts come out onto this line, and the belt goes across like so. Alright, almost there. Alright, now we just put the sink in, set the splitters, and we will be done with copper powder production. And then it'll just be a question of just merging it all up into useful groups. Wait, these need a smart splitter, of course. Must not forget that. And then you get powered up as well. Alright, so now we just go boom, boom, and boom. Alright, so that is that. These guys are all powered up. And that's all the copper powder production done. So now the only question is the organization of it all. So let's get throughput monitors on that as well. I ended up having this one go the other way, which I wish I hadn't done, so all the outputs could be on this side. Oh well, too late now. Anyways, how much is this? So this is 41.667 times 9, which is 375. So these two combined should be 750, and then that means that this one should be 250. If the math all adds up. 25 times 9. Alright, hang on. Did we make a mistake? 25 times 9 is 225. Plus 375 times 2 is 975. We are 25 copper powder short, which is a bit concerning. So this is, oh right, because this one. That's this one. This provided the extra 25, and we should be good there. Right? 25. Yes. So we have 400 here, 375 there, 225 in the last row. So if we combine these two rows up, we get 600, and 600 plus 400. It would be a reasonable way of organizing the copper powder. Yeah, let's do that. So those are numbers which fit on belts, and also divide evenly pretty conveniently into 1,000, which we're ultimately going to need them to do. It would be mildly more convenient if we could get 2 belts of 500, but it doesn't really make it that much harder. You just have to do a little bit of funny stuff with the splitting at the very end of this whole thing. And we can even just balance it later if we want to. Alright, so let's bring this over here. Like so. But actually we want to bring this one down here and then combine the two up. So this goes along to this distance there, and you come along this way. So we get right any center overflow. So then we can bring this all the way over here and then line it up like that. Alright, so these two add up to a belt of 600 copper powder. And let's get that marked with a sign. Oh, wait, no, don't place it like that. I need to be able to actually see it. So you are copper powder and 600. There we go. And then we can bring this one up there too so that it's all in one spot. So this is left any center overflow. And this is the other 400. We can't obviously fit it all on the belt, so this one isn't going to be merged, but just having it next to the other one will make my life a whole lot easier when I have to do stuff with this in the future. Alright, so then let's also get this one labeled and change the number 600 to 400. Alright, so that should be basically everything we have to do with copper powder for quite a while. So now we get to start messing with all of these guys. So let's start by bringing them all up onto the second floor, because the first floor is an absolute mess over here. So let's just get this up and connect that. Center overflow, right any. Let's just get that set up and copy that with both directions being valid so that I can save time setting up the other smart splitters, which are basically all going to be the same thing. So that's pasted. That's pasted. Then we bring this all the way over to here. And then send that back so that we have a roof. This is 68, which is annoyingly Mark II. So that is set up. Then this one is 150, which is barely Mark III. So let's bring that down. Alright. Quartz crystals comes down through this exact area, which is going to cause some problems if we build in here. So we're just going to have to kind of work our way out from this. Alright, so let's pop that across over to there. Give you the settings and bring that up. And you are hardly any, so that should be fine. And then we have all the way over here. Got whatever this is, the rubber. And we also have the fuel, which we're going to need to deal with in a moment. Alright, so that covers up that whole general area. This rubber is only 10. So up you go. And then right back down. Alright. So, is there anything else that I've missed here on the first floor? I don't think so, and I think the aluminum is going to have to come down eventually from above, but as far as everything we've done on the first floor, I think this is all. Alright. So then, let's... Oh, the fuel is the last thing. Where are you? You're all the way over here. So you're going to need a pump to get up to the top. And a fluid floor hole. So you can go in like that. And up you go. And pipeline pump. There's a power line over there. Alright, so now that is all good to go. This whole thing is going to be running again for a little bit until it fills this pipe. Alright, so let's see here. Step 1 will be dealing with the rubber and plastic production, I think, so that we can deal with the last of the fluids and just have a nice solid factory from there on. So we scroll down to here and we have like 1 point something refineries each. Alright, so we need to get those in. And where are we going to have space for them? I guess just over here, just off the edge of the map, or at least the edge of the foundation so far. Refineries are quite big, and we need a couple of them. So let's go 2 refineries each. That should be good enough. Alright, so now we have to figure out the ratios and splitting for all this. So, plastic, we need... Alright, so we need 45.784 plus 6 plus 23.809 is 75.593 plastic. So let's see here. That divided by 45.784. Please be a clean ratio. It isn't. Of course it isn't. I could have sworn there was some, like, convenient thing that you could do here to get it to work, but apparently not. We're going to have to deal with this atrocity again. And then the rubber is something similar. So anyways, this is 75.593 rubber. Okay, actually, this should be easy because it's only 2 machines, right? So let's get these set up to recycled rubber. Okay, well, it's not going to be perfect, but we can at least get, like, a basic setup. So we need this one to feed into the other machines and make 40.713 rubber. And then this feeds in to the rubber outputs, which are down here, which is, hang on, let me get 11.667 plus 39.188 is 50.855. So you are 50.855 rubber, and that is that. Alright, so that, then we go over here to the recycled plastic, and you are going to be 45.784. Let's get the 7 in. And you are going to be the plastic outputs, which are, let's figure out, 5.833 plus 23.809 plus 6 is 35.64233. 35.64233. Obviously that's going to round a lot. Alright, so we have all of those. Now we just need to figure out the ratios here. So 40.713 and 50.855. 0.855 is weirdly close to exactly 0.8, so that's a good sign. Alright, so how do you do this? 0.713 plus that, close the parentheses in. So it is 44% of the total, but 80% almost exactly of the other one. Alright, so how do I get this set up to work properly? Do I just give up and have it do whatever it wants? So we would need, in order for this to line up properly, to either get one of these absolutely terrible numbers to be a good ratio, or we would need to, I don't know, do something else clever, like if these numbers are in a ratio of each other. So let's see, if I split this, because we know that this one is, so the inputs here are, this needs 20.357 plastic, this needs 25.428, which should be just these numbers but divided by 2. So we know that for every 4 in one of them, the other one gets 5, approximately. But it's not quite perfect. It's not quite perfect. If I just like expand these out to be repeating, does that make it better? No, it's about the same. All right. Can we get it perfect? I don't think so. These numbers are absolutely awful. So instead, we are just going to do this the old-fashioned way, which is to just do a nice, good old-fashioned manifold. I don't like using these because I think they look bad, but I think it's just easier under these circumstances. If I were syncing the rubber from the polymer resin stuff down here, then I think the ratios would work out. But it's slightly less efficient, and the systems don't like doing that. So I either have to do it this way or give up the tool. Alright, so then we go right any center overflow, and that'll ensure that all of the extra plastic goes into there and not into this, which is the output side. And then we do the same thing over here. Just expand the foundation out a little bit. And then this just goes like so. Right any center overflow. Alright, then we put in the fluid pipes. So this just goes over to not even that far and get some junctions in. There and there. Junctions go down. Alright, then we go over here, do the same thing on this side. And that goes across to there-ish. And then connects down into the inputs. Alright, so we have that. We have that. Then the next step is we just have to connect these pipes across so that they all get fuel. So that goes around like that. You go up and into there. And so that is fuel. It looks like it is making it through the pipe system correctly, at least at the moment. This is producing. Eventually, we just need to get the outputs attached up to sinks. Okay, slight annoyance. This side is the plastic side, not the rubber side, but that belt right there is rubber. So we're going to have to deal with that some other way. But we just need to get the sinks set up. And I don't know why I'm in the train hotbar. So we're certainly not doing anything to do with trains right now. Alright, so then we just get a sink somewhere in this general area. Doesn't really matter, because we only have a single machine of output. So we don't have to line up with anything. So you just go over to there. And output your plastic. And then we can do the same thing over here, although I want this to come across over to this side so that it's in the same general vicinity as the rubber. So this gets a couple extra rows, gets a sink, and a smart splitter. Alright, now we just need to do the powering up and then boot up the loop. So we get the power line in, we get the sinks attached, we get the refineries attached, and then we just connect this down to something somewhere. Can you go across to there? Not quite far enough. So you can then go down to there. Alright, so now these are going, they're going to fill up with fuel, and we're going to give the pipes a brief second to recover. This is going. Just want these to be more full than they currently are. This looks like it... Does it slope down? No, that's perfectly flat. I don't know why that angle made it look exactly like it was sloping down. Alright, so that is going. This is still making more fuel to fill in the gaps. And any second now. Alright, so we should have enough at this point. Like, these are seeming to be mostly filled, except for when they randomly fluctuate like that. So we're just going to give you another second. Alright, you're probably good at this point, so we have to go into this one and feed you some rubber, feed you some plastic, and then this whole system should be going now. So this plastic will go into here, keep this one running, and then any excess plastic will go across to get you booted up. Not that there will be excess plastic for a little bit, but there will be eventually, because this is making enough for the two of these. Alright, so we are starting to go. The outer ones still are doing nothing, of course, because we need this internal loop to get filled up before anything happens. And this is why I don't like doing it this way. We can just do that with you and grab another stack of rubber, I guess, and get you. So now this should be running properly. Alright, you're going. We've got plenty of excess output, which should get these booted up faster than maybe normal. And they're going, and they should just stay going forever now at this point. Alright, plastic and rubber done. At some point, if I'm feeling in the mood for it, I might come back here and rework these to be proper balancers, but for now, I think we're good. And then, the only thing left is... You are additional rubber, right? So, let's just get you combined up with the rest of the rubber output. So you are going to have to curve around that way, go up over that belt, and see if any rubber actually comes out through here. There won't be much, because it's just off of this one machine, but it is going now. That's nice. And then we just have to get this a merger and then combine up all the rubber so that it's all in one place. And this might be more than 60. That's 50.855. That's like 10-ish. Yeah, so this is somehow going to need to be ever so slightly a Mark II belt. So let's get that in. And then did I set this? I did not. Right, any center overflow. That is now going. Alright, so that is all good. This looks like it's going fine, I guess. Alright, that is that. Next step. is, I guess, take the Caterium and the spare copper to make fused quickwire. And we're going to do that in just a single assembler with very slight overclocking. So the Caterium was this one over here. The spare copper was this one over here. So we want to just bring this around the outside of the copper setup so that we don't cause any weird stuff to happen. So this goes around this way, and let's get that set up properly. There we go. Alright, now we send that foundation over. And the belt goes, and it goes all the way over this way to the other side of this whole setup for the Caterium. Alright, now we're in this sort of general area. If we only need a single assembler, we should just be able to plop that down basically anywhere. So let's get that in here. Assembler, and you get copper, and you get Caterium. Alright, so you are fused quickwire. Fused quickwire, where are you? There's fused wire, there's fused quickwire. Alright, so how much of this do we need? It's slightly more than a single thing. We need 71.428 plus 25. So let's give you a power shard. 71.428 plus 25. It's 96.43. And that should be that. So we just get you powered on from wherever. And then you get to feed into a sink, of course, just like everything else. So that goes in. And we get a smart splitter, which is facing the wrong way. There we go. And then this is a Mark II belt, which just goes into there. And where on earth? There's power. Alright, quick wire is good once we have that copper all the way over here. Just going to take it a fair amount of time, it seems. Alright, so that is that. Alright, let's do the thing where we just sort of go over here and we drag everything we've made over to the side so that we can see everything that we haven't made. Alright, so that and that. Alright, so next up is going to be Caterium circuit board with quick wire and plastic. So actually, wait, is this plastic A-islander maybe easier? Yeah, I think that's going to be easier to balance first, so let's do that. And that's 25 quick wire, 5.833 plastic. So 5.833 times, what is it, 3, 4, 5, 6, times 6 is 35. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 70. I guess, so the 6 would be easier. So 35 is just 60 minus 25, which I'm sure we can get somehow. All right, how do we do that? Or it's 30 plus 5. 30 plus 5 is maybe marginally easier. Yeah, let's do that. So we go over here to our plastic. And we are going to grab the belt out of this. So you go over this way into some open space. And we're going to need to do some splitting here. So, step 1, we need a priority merger, followed by a smart splitter. So that gets us our 30. Actually, though, it'll be easier to do the other bit first so that it can be right next to that. So we have 60 here. And then we go 30 back into the smart splitter, 30 onwards. So that is step 1. So that is our 30. Then we need to get our 5.833, which... Does this give us an easier thing? No, it does not. But 70 does, I believe. Yes, so it's 70 divided by 12. No, I think 35 divided by 6 is easier. Wait, let me think. So 70 divided by 12 is just 60 plus 10, and 10 is 60 divided by 6. Yeah, I think that's actually easier. I don't know. Though. So, we are going to need a merger there to get this up to 60. Then we take a smart splitter off. Actually, this needs to be like 120 in order to get 70 off of it. So we get a smart splitter off with 60. Then we get... Actually, if we make this 120, then it's just 60 and 60, and it doesn't even need to be a smart splitter. So let's just do that, I guess. So we have that. We have 60 there, plus 60 going forwards. Now this then divides into 3, one of which divides into 2, and then all the rest of them that loop back. Actually, I think this one being the one that divides into 2 is easier. So we have that. Then we just have to merge up all of the other outputs, like that, and like that, and then you go back into there. So we have 60 there. Wait, no, this is 120, I think, already. So yeah, I think this has to be 120. So that's 120. So we have 60 going out that way, which we'll deal with later, of course. Then we have 60 going forwards this way, which is split 20, all goes back, 20, all goes back, 20, 10. So we have 60 plus 10, merge these up to get 70. So let's get those extra belts out of the way. So that and that means that this is now 70. And then we just divide this by 12. So that's 2 by 2 by 3, I think. So, let's see here. All of these except the one we want has to go out. So, we can have a merger there. So that's divided by 2. It's down to 35. Now we divide it by 2 again. It's down to whatever 35 divided by 2 is. And then we need, actually, this should be like that. Then we need it to divide by 3. And we get our 5.833 out there. Maybe. Alright, now what the heck was this for? Why did this exist? I don't think that does anything. Right? I think that was when I was trying to do it like 35 divided by something, but then I changed my mind on that. So yeah, I don't think that this is anything relevant. So that all goes out. And we are just left with this. So that gets connected into there. And just to confirm, this is a Mark II belt, which means it can eventually carry 120 stuff. So 60 goes there, 60 goes there, 20, 40, 50 goes there. So this is 10 plus 60 is 70. That's a Mark II belt. So then this is 35 and 35. Then this is half of 35. 35 divided by 2 is 17.5 and 17.5. And then this is 17.5 divided by 3, which is our 5.833. So now this just goes back to there as a Mark II belt. And I think that is it. We have our 5.833. Now, this gets set to output to this. And then we have that, and we need our quick wire. So, quick wire is this one over here. So first of all, let's just paste those settings. And we need 25, which is 75 divided by 3. So we start off with a priority merger, probably. Then we get a smart splitter for getting 15 out, then another smart splitter for the other 60. So this has to give us 15. So we have to divide it into 4, right? So we go there, and then there. These two. So now each of those sends half of their thing out there. The other 15 goes to there, which is then conveniently placed to line up with that, our other 60. So that sends the other 60 over here, We have 60 plus 15 is 75. Divide that by 3. And one of them goes forwards, the other two go back. Alright, I think what we want is for these two to go back. And I guess they can merge up with this. So that all goes... I think I did something horrible there. Did that connect through weirdly? Yes, it did. So you are just supposed to go across to there. You are just supposed to go across to there. And I think that might need to be a Mark II belt now. Not sure. Then our total quick wire output goes into that. And this is our final result, which we then just jam into an assembler. Like this. And you are making plastic AI limiters. And we need 1.667. There we go. So that is that set up. Something here is wrong. I see you need to get connected across to there. And you also need to get it connected across to there. And this then needs to be priority medium left, I believe. And we might have to do a similar thing over here with the plastic. So the plastic has completely filled up its whole thing, so we're going to have to set that up and give you power. There's a power line there. Although it's sort of low, let's get a new power line in right there to keep that going well. Alright, so this is currently fully saturated, and we need the return loops to have priority over fresh input. That's the only way to get this final bit right, is to limit the amount of plastic in the system, which, okay, then these need to go across as well. And that is that. So this should eventually figure itself out. There's currently way too much plastic in there, but it'll be fine. Alright, now we just get a sync in for the AI limiters and call that a day. Alright, sync, smart splitter, done. Alright, so now this should be good to go. And it looks like the amount of plastic going through here is appropriately very small. So that's what we want to see. And then we're going to need to just pop an overflow thing on there if we want to get the rest of the plastic out for other purposes. Alright, so these two look like they're working approximately. At least there's enough getting through to satisfy this. There might be too much getting through. But that's another problem which we can deal with in the future. Alright, plastic AI limiters, check. Next step is the Caterium circuit boards. Actually, coated iron plates are actually easier, so let's get them going. So we need 30 iron ingots and 6 plastic. So that should be easy enough. The 6 plastic we can just take off of this, and you get a smart splitter somewhere in there. And we're gonna set up another whole balancing system to limit this one to 6. Which should be pretty straightforward. So I do want this to be fast enough to carry a bit more so that when we get the rest of the plastic off, we can get it out of here instead of going into this whole mess again. So let's get that. So you're going to be for whatever the rest of it is. And then our 6 here will be, we can just set that to left any center overflow. So we need a Mark 1 belt coming off of here. But we need a merger as well. It's going to need to be a priority merger. Then that means that this is going to be 60. And then we just need to split that into 10. So we get a, I guess just a 1 to 5 balancer somewhere in here. There we go. So you go in like that. And then all of that is set up. Right, so we need this side to entirely just loop back into there. Then we need this one to loop back into there, and this is our 10, which we can then just split into 2, then dismantle that, give you a merger, and get all of those looped together. Alright, so now we have a belt of 5. Or, no, 6, right? We have 60 there. So this is going to be 60 with all the merge backs. Let's set those to medium priority. So that's 60. And then it splits into 30 there, 30 there. And then this splits into, I don't know. It's going to be the whole 1 to 6 confusing nonsense. But at the end of the day, this, which need to connect, will be receiving 1/5 of 60, and that will then be 1/10 of 60, so that's 6. Alright, cool. Then we have to get our 60 iron ingots out. So those are these guys all the way over here, right? Now we need to split the iron ingots into a batch of 30 and a batch of 120, which should be pretty easy. So you just get a smart splitter, and you are going to be left 120, center overflow, which will be our 30. And I guess we can even make that better by just making this side forced as well. So you get a merger, You get a splitter. You get to be a priority merger. Priority from the side. So now 30 goes back. And 30 goes forwards. Alright, and then that is all set up to be good. Alright, so this iron then, we just need to bring it all the way over through all this space to the other side of the plastic setup to get attached into an assembler. And it is just one assembler, I believe. Alright, so you go up there. You are going to be set like that, I guess. Shouldn't really make much of a difference, because that should be fully saturated at all times anyways. Then this one goes forwards. And forwards we go. We just belt on over the outsides of the plastic, bring it back down, and then in this area over here we can get our assembler for the coated iron plates. Alright, production, assembler, you go in there, you go in there. Coated iron plates, and we just need 60 of you. So that's all set up. That's going. The iron is coming along as well. And you get powered up by being brought back to there. And then you get a sink, just like all the others. Alright, so let's just fill in this extra space here. And awesome sink. There we go. And then this is 60 iron plates, which is a good amount, but still a Mark 1 belt is fine. So you are all set up and ready to go. Coated iron plates, check. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is we need to bring the aluminum down and chip away at some of the stuff that it needs. Or we could finish up like all the non-aluminum stuff, I guess. Deuterium circuit board should be pretty easy. We have the rest of the quick wire and the rest of the plastic, and just into 2 assemblers this time. Alright, so the quick wire here is set up so that that is any output. Then we need to just get another smart splitter on you, which is center any right overflow. So then this goes over here. And the remains of the plastic are going to be coming off of this belt here. So you get a smart splitter, which is going to be right overflow. And so then this can just make its way out. And I guess it can just go up over that. And then back down. And our quick wire can then go around all of those sinks and everything. And now we can get our 2 assemblers in for deuterium circuit boards. Now this, I guess I'll use this blueprint just to make it ever so slightly neater. Although this whole factory is kind of gross. But if we can make part of it slightly better, that would be cool. Alright, so we get a floor hole in there, which we can bring plastic up. And then we get the quick wire in there. And this is going to be Caterium circuit boards. There we go. And, oh, we should set the ratios first. 16.666 divided by 3 is that. And then we just paste those all across. And bring in the power. Then we just have to bring that into there. Quick wire is going in. Plastic will be going in a minute. And then we just put our sink in. Alright, so this gets all that extra stuff. And where does the sink go? It goes lined up like that. Scoot it back a little bit to put in the splitter. And there we go. So this all needs to be Mark 1 for the circuit board production. So that is that. And that should start running shortly. So then we can drag that back into the list of things that we have finished. Alright, so insulated crystal oscillators should be possible now. We take all of our quartz, part but not all of the remaining rubber, and our AI limiters to make insulated crystal oscillators. So we are going to need to find our rubber belt, balance that up. Where is the rubber? Rubber is back here. Alright, so 11.66 something rubber. And okay, so that's all we need for that. And then the other two are just going to go in. So 11.66 something times 3 is 35. We're doing this again, really? Times 4 is inconvenient, times 5, times 6 is 70. Yep, alright, so we're just going to have to get 70, which is 60 plus 10. Or I guess 40 plus 30 is easier. Yeah, 40 plus 30 is definitely easier. Kind of wish I'd noticed that last time. It would have made it a lot less cumbersome. But too late now. We already have a functional setup. Alright, so you go over this way. And you get, first of all, a smart splitter for the rest of the rubber that we're not using here. And then you get a priority merger, which is going to be like this, and take priorities from the outside. So this will be 60 going through here. Actually, no, we need this to be faster. Yeah, so we need this to be like 120 in theory. So if I can just reach in there, please. There. So that's 120, which means we can then split off 2 of these guys. So you are going to take just 20 of yours back, and then the other giant chunk, the other 40 goes forwards like that. Then you are going to be the 30. So you take 30 of yours back, and the rest goes forwards. And then these two then combine up. 30 plus 40. Don't get that connection in there. That would be very bad. Center, none. Right, any. Okay, wait. How does this... So that connection doesn't exist because this one is handling it. So that's left any, center overflow there. This is right any, and then this doesn't even need to be a splitter really, but that's fine. So then this is 70, which we then divide by 6. So we get a divide by 2 and a divide by 3. So first, this has to go back like that and like that. So that we divide it by 2 to get 35 and 35. Then we send these other two in. And then this is our 11.6. And then this, once that is all connected up, this just has to merge back into here. And let's get this all going. Is that set up properly? Yes. Alright, cool. So now we just have to have you send stuff over there. Alright, 11.6 something rubber, check. Assuming this all works, which this looks wrong. You need to exist as a belt, I assume. And you need to exist as a belt, I assume. There we go. Now, the rest of those two need to not exist as belts. And then the rest of this should be all clear. Alright, so we have that. Rubber, check. Then we have to grab our quartz crystals and our AI limiters. So the AI limiters are these ones over here. There's something over here. Is it you? Yes, it's you, which are going to need to go over there, and then the quartz crystals are those ones over there. Alright, let's just have that go up onto the next floor to avoid having to deal with all of that mess. So that belt just goes across like that. You get set up properly. And now this goes over. So this comes along this way. And then we're over here. So this is going to be a manufacturer recipe, so it's fine for one of these ingredients to be on the next floor up. Yeah, actually it's only one manufacturer, so it doesn't really matter, but... Alright, let's get the quartz crystals over, and they're also just probably going to go up this way. Seems easy enough. So this comes along, and we just got to get, assuming I'm correct and this is the quartz crystals, which it is. Let's go. So then we get the floor hole just slightly off-centered for some reason. And up you go. So now we just have to run this belt along until we can meet up with the plastic Or rubber. It's rubber, right? I can never remember the difference between plastic and rubber in this game. They're like basically the same. You produce them at the same time. They get used for completely different things, but you know. Anyways. You just go over here, make that a solid foundation. And this is a pretty short floor, but that's fine. It's tall enough for what I need it to do, which is very little. Alright, so now we just have this come over here as well. And, oh, we already have some AI limiters on the end of this belt. That's convenient. No sign of any quartz crystals, but they had a longer way to go, and they started later. Alright, so now we just fill in all of this space. Like that. And give you a manufacturer. Alright, can we just have you ever so slightly backwards, just for convenience's sake? Like that should be good. You go into there, you go into there. And you go into there. Alright, crystal oscillators. Crystal oscillators. Oh, insulated crystal oscillator. And it is 1.6 repeating. There we go. That is that. So at this point, we're pretty close. We pretty much just need aluminum related stuff. And yeah, so everything we have remaining needs us to go and grab the aluminum. So let's go up and do that and have that be its own new floor. So we just go up, grab a wall up from this, and that's gonna be, let's see, if we go up to there, that'll be tall enough to be over the tops of the refineries, and we won't have to worry about them. So now we get this all set up. And just like a decent sized starting floor for now. And we can obviously, we're gonna just expand it later. Alright, up we go to grab the aluminum. So we just hover pack our way up. It's by far the easiest way of gaining height. If you don't want to do some setup and build a hypertube cannon, in which case that's obviously much easier. Alright, we are up here now, and we need to grab the aluminum, and we're going to continue leaving the nitrogen off for later. Now I could have sworn I had built a thing for the aluminum. Yeah, it's this one over here. Alright, so this needs a Mark IV belt, and it needs to just come on over this way. And then we can do a curve, get down to here, and start dropping the belt down. This is going to be right next to the quartz thing, so we don't have to worry about wasting too much more space in the factory. We've sort of gotten a bit off to the side, which I guess is fine. Alright, down a little bit more. Almost there. Just this last one. And then we can just go along and onto the foundation. Alright, aluminum, check. So, first thing to do with the aluminum is we need to make some beams and some casings. So we need to split it for that. Although, actually, we can just rely on the fact that the belts are fast enough, I think. Yeah, so we don't have to actually do any serious splitting, because the belts are fast enough and it's coming off of a train, so it'll just work. So what we need to do is have you smart split to 60 and then 480. And then let's just do one constructor for the beams with an overclock. We're pretty close to getting automatic power shards, so I'm not super worried about it. Aluminum beams. So we need 30.897. 30.897 is 137.3% production speed. That's what I expect it to be, so we have that. Then, the other thing the aluminum goes into is aluminum casings, which is going to be a respectable 4 constructors. So let's get some room for those. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, the settings here are aluminum casings. There you are. And we need 225 divided by 4, which is just a little bit less than full power each. Oh wait, we need to... Yeah, so that one had a power shard in it because the previous one I pasted had a power shard in it, but that's all good now. Then we just split this off just naturally, like that, like that. Good old 1-to-4s. And these actually require a lot of ingots each. So these need to be Mark IIs already. Handle the 80 some. Then we have this one, which needs to be giving Mark IIIs. And then we have our Mark IV belt going into that. Alright, so now we just get power to all of these guys and set their sinks up. And then we can connect them in. Alright, so then we go awesome sync. Just like that. How much is this? 30 point something. That's a Mark 1 if I've ever seen one. Get that sync powered up. These are 56 each, 225 total. So we can just merge them up. And they just barely need Mark 1 belts for their outputs, but then the final thing will need Mark 3s. So that goes out like that. And we get our sync. Like so. And get... I always forget the smart splitter, which we need to have. There we go. Now you get powered up. And then this whole thing goes down a floor to get all those powered up. And then that goes across. And we have our immediate usage of aluminum ingots done. Alright, next up, we need to take some of these steel beams and make encased industrial beams with concrete. And that will be in, we can just do one overclocked assembler for that. So we need to get 25 off of this. and 5.897 to the other one. So let's get this, and we just need, so this is gonna be the whole system we had previously with the 40 plus 30 to get 70. Wait, no, that's not even correct anymore. 75 is 60 plus 15. Right, alright, so that's also not too bad. So we have you. Actually, we need a little bit more space here because we need a smart splitter before all of this. And then a merger. So you are going to be outputting 60. No, you need to be outputting 120. So that is 120. Then this has to be a 15 splitter, where a quarter goes forwards and 3/4 goes back. So you get a merger and another merger. So that's step one. Then we need another splitter in here. So we have 60. Then we have 30 and 30. Then we have this. These two would need to not be connected, I think. Yeah, okay, so we have 60 here, we have 30 there, and 30 there. Oh wait, no, this is just the other half. Those two aren't connected anyways. That's fine. Alright, where are we? So 60 goes in there, 30 goes there, 30 goes there. 15 goes there, 15 goes forwards, which forwards, in this case, can be merging in with U, which is Mark 1, plus that 15 is 75. Then we divide that 75 by 3 with another one of U, and then we have our 25 as soon as that goes into there, and the priorities get set. Alright. So this should work. This should be 25. Then we need to take 50 concrete. So where is our concrete? It's going to be down here a little bit. And this one over here. Alright, so it can go up to this floor and then get split. There we go. And your floor hole looks like it's there. So this goes all the way up. And then we have our concrete. Alright, so we have our concrete here. We need to get 50 out of it. And that is just 60 minus 10. So we start with a smart splitter there to get the output for the other thing. Then we have this. So we just need a smart splitter there. And then this is going to be 60 there, and then we just need to get 1/6 of this to loop back and the other 5, 6 to go forwards. So this is actually very easy. We just do like that. So that is a third and then a half. Then the rest of these we merge up. And one more merger to get you. So we have 60, 20, 20, 20, 10, 10. This is 50. All right. So that is that. We can just go forwards a little bit. And now we just put in our assembler here. It's been super weird just working with individual assemblers for this factory. I'm used to working with like batches of 5 or 6 assemblers, not just like, yeah, place down one and it'll be enough. With a bit of overclocking. Alright, so what was I even doing? Just base recipe encased industrial beam with a little bit of overclocking, and you are 8.33 output. There we go. Then we get the power connected across, and let's get a new power pole in there so that we don't have to worry about any of that stuff going wrong. Running out of power poles can be quite annoying. And then we just have to put these into a sink. And that'll be another step done. There we go. Make sure to put the smart splitter in. And power the sink on. Alright, so this doesn't seem to be doing anything. Where did I fail to connect it? Oh, I failed to set you up. Well, you're not even really meant to be a splitter, so we don't have to worry about that. So that should send 50 concrete through and be going strong there. Alright, so encased industrial beams, check. Next up, steel screws. That's going to be the rest of these steel beams here. So we are going to grab right overflow off of this and just kind of sneak you a little bit past. And then you just need a constructor and a power shard. So steel screws, and we need to do, let's see here, that's 306.6 repeating. 306.666 repeating. There we go. Now we get you attached up to power and hooked up to a sink, which is going to have to be Mark IV belts. This is a speedy machine here. There we go. Alright. Steel screws, check. Next up, reinforced iron plates. We need our 60 iron plates from earlier and 120 of these screws. And let's see here. Where did those steel plates wind up being? They're in some random assembler somewhere over here, I think. It's going to be this one, I think. Yes. Alright, so this just goes up to meet up with the steel screws. And Then we get to put that in. And connect you across. There we go. Paste those settings in. So here go our plates. They just need to make it the rest of the way up to this level. And this goes over here. And one more over. Then we just bring you up to there and out. Alright, so this is going to be 2 assemblers, which means I guess we can use the assembler blueprint thing. Might as well. We'll save a little bit of work and keep things a little bit organized. So this goes in. We could obviously just like jam 2 power shards into a single assembler, but I don't know. I'm trying. I don't want to use them for every single possible situation. I don't know why not, but you know. So this is just default recipe reinforced iron plates, 10 divided by 3. And so we paste those settings across, and we can connect our power lines to something over there. Give us an intermediate spot first, and then into there. Alright, so we have our screws. Those go over this way. We need... Fortunately, this is 120, so it's completely trivial. We just go there, there, and then it's right any, center overflow. This is a Mark II belt. And then this just goes on over and into the setup. There we go. And then we bring our iron plates up the rest of the way. Like that. And then they could go in. Like that. Good old straight mode, keeping things relatively convenient. Alright, so that is that. And this is all fine. I have to actually set this to have the correct settings. So now we'll send screws over this way. And then we can take our 10 plates per second and just throw them into another sink. Alright. There we go. And the sink goes in. Okay, it's further over this way than I thought for whatever reason. Get the sink and the smart splitter. That goes across and gets powered up. Alright. Reinforced iron plates theoretically set up and ready to go as soon as the ingredients show up. There we go. Alright, cool. That's another one down. The rest of this all looks fully functional, except for this one. What is your problem? You are not getting enough concrete. This is definitely not 50, right, so we need to combine that in to get the full 50. Alright, that's easy enough. The rest of this seems like it's going fine, although this guy over here, well, I just straight up didn't finish that. let's go back here. You need a sink. And did I underclock you? I did. Alright, crystal oscillators get to go into a sink. And there we go. Smart splitter. And right across. Alright, now we just have to make you powered up. Oh, that's actually awkward. If we power you down, you'll fit underneath the foundation. Which doesn't really solve my problem of needing a power line, though. So I guess we can grab you, bring you up there, and get you set up. Alright. So reinforced iron plates are done, crystal oscillators are done. Yeah, we are seriously making it through here. We just have a couple things left. So we have radio control systems. And we have to make some iron pipes, some bolted frames, heavy encased frames, fused frames, pressure conversion cubes, and then the nuclear pasta. Alright, let's see here. So the next step would be, I guess, to put together everything for the radio control system. So we need the remains of our rubber, crystal oscillators, circuit boards, and 100 aluminum casings. Alright, let's get all that done. And then that's just going to be one manufacturer overclocked. And it's going to be up here, right? Because we need some aluminum related stuff for it. Yeah, so we need some of the aluminum casings. So it's going to be up here. And let's just get some space out for it. Alright, so that is a good amount of space. Let's get a manufacturer in now. Alright, so step one is the aluminum casings, because they are obviously right here. We need to get you to split off to 100. So you get a smart splitter into a merger into a smart splitter. So we just need 40 of this to go forwards. So no, you don't do that. Why would you do that? You go in like that. So we have 60, 20 of it goes backwards, 40 of it goes forwards. Oh, that's facing backwards. No wonder it wasn't snapping in properly. Alright. So we have 60 going there, 40 of it goes forwards, and then by going forwards, it merges in with this, which gets another 60. And then this needs to be a Mark II. So then we have 60 plus 40 is 100. And you go in... Can I get you, like... Just like that, to leave some space in front of the other ones. And then we bring the aluminum into that whole setup. And into there. And left priority medium. And left any. Alright, so that is that. Now you get powered up. And, oh, I have to give you the settings first. Radio control unit. No, radio control system, alt. And you are going to need to be 5 per minute. Like that. Alright, so we have radio control systems, aluminum casings. Next we need circuit boards, rubber, and crystal oscillators. Alright, so circuit boards, rubber, crystal oscillators. Is this circuit boards? Yes, so this is circuit boards, that's crystal oscillators, and then the rubber is back over there somewhere. Alright, so we can just bring that foundation on over to here and get this all set up. So you go all the way up to there and take that. These ones are not running properly. Quick wire shortage. Okay, is that just... That's just because this can't be a Mark 1 belt. Yeah, so I think there was exactly a single section of Mark 1 belt in that, causing that. So problem solved. Circuit boards are going up to the next floor. Now we have to go over grab the crystal oscillators. So this just gets set up like that, and then we grab our crystal oscillators. So you go up to there and down. You get pasted to the correct settings. Alright, circuit boards check, crystal oscillators check, rubber. We need this. So this is the rubber overflow splitter. So you go up to somewhere in that general vicinity. How much rubber is this? It's less than 60, so we can do Mark 1 belts for this. And then we just need this foundation to come all the way over here to attach up. Alright, so this goes up to there, and that goes back down. Then we grab our belts, and now we have to start actually worrying about getting all this stuff together. Also, did I ever actually set this as right overflow? I did. So that's all good. And then we take those up, and they can join the party. So these then go around, and then all the way over this way. Wait, no, don't do that. Straight mode was trying to cause some problems again. And that goes forwards, and this goes forwards. Then we have this one to also add up to it. Then all of these go around this belt of iron plates, which is somewhat inconveniently just sort of right here. So you go there, and you get around to there. Then we bring these all the way down to here. Got a bit further to go. And then you go a little bit further up. And then we should be able to just turn around into this direction and then get into the assembler. Alright, so that almost didn't work, but it did work, so we're good. Then I guess we need these to curve in order to go in properly. Alright. Anyways, that is radio control units all set up and ready to go. We just need to put in their sync. So this all expands out. And then you go there, and you get a smart splitter. And then we just power up the sync. And that is that. Once this is all through the belts, that'll be radio control systems done. And those go directly to pressure conversion cubes. Alright, so the next thing we have is just a little bit of extra stuff before doing the fused modular frames, which will then go into the pressure conversion cube to make the nuclear pasta. Now, I am honestly feeling real tired for some reason, so I think we're going to call it a bit early today. I don't know why, I'm just sort of feeling not great at the moment, so hopefully that gets better soon. Probably just need a good night's sleep or something. But thanks everyone for hanging out. I did have a lot of fun here. We are making serious progress. It would be bizarre if we didn't finish this on Friday. So, if you're interested in seeing this whole thing finally come to a conclusion, then make sure to stop by on Friday. Otherwise, tomorrow we'll be back in Factorio, where we have just recently started up a brand new game, and we are just playing through with the Space Age DLC now to see what that's like. So yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. Had a lot of fun, as always. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, playing various factory building games, currently alternating between Satisfactory and Factorio, so make sure to follow so that you know when I'm live.